Divided loyalties. My father is a Burnley fan, so you can imagine the trouble and strife when I told him of my little plan to make a Preston fan my wife. Good Lord, my son, think on what you do. This is a dangerous move. It makes me shudder, it makes me sad. There's no way that I can approve. But Dad, I cried, I love her so. What's the problem with who she supports? This family of mine will only be seen in claret and blue shirts or shorts. I won't let a lily white into this house. This is my hallowed turf. The only blue and white thing I'll allow goes by the name of Papa Smurf. But love is stronger than my father's will, and I had to grow to manhood. So I squared my shoulders and stood up tall. His torrent of rage I withstood. Father of mine, you gave me life, and I've stood on turf moor by your side. I've sat on your shoulders when they've won, held your hand on the days you've cried. But this love of mine I have to obey. She's the one for whom I yearn. And to be honest, it could be worse. She could be a fan of Blackburn. With that he snorted and stomped away, grumbling as he left my sight. But his parting shot as he left the room likened me to Potato Blight. Now my mother during this watched from the side, keeping counsel to herself. And I looked at her and I told her straight, I'm getting married on the 12th. If Dad's not there I'll understand, but I want him to be my best man. I hope for once, just for my sake, he'll forget he's a football fan. My mum shook her head. I doubt that, son. For him all other teams suck. And Preston for him is one of the worst. You know how he hates that duck. There's one more thing, Mum, he won't take too well. The reception is at the ground. There'll be photos of Finney, Nugent and co. all watching him with a frown. With a look of despair she turned on me. My son, you're a real twit. This move of yours is lunacy. This will cause a family split. No more was said, and I left the house, leaving the invites on the side. I went over to Preston to stay with a girl who was due to be my bride. When I told her of the family trouble, she took my hand in hers. We can have a drink in Burnley town, if that's what your father prefers. I shook my head. We're doing this. Our wedding is going ahead. I'm not letting football ruin our day. I'll either be wed or dead. The big day came, my mother turned up, but my father was not to be seen. When in burst the bee, yes, Bertie Bee, trying to intervene. I'll stop this marriage, the giant bee shrieked, and he plunged towards the altar. He leapt over the pews and over the bride, and went to grab the psalter. But from one of the aisles in flew the duck, the vicar was close behind. They tackled the bee and brought him down, though it took the two combined. A scuffle ensued in the centre of church, and even the guests got involved. There were so many punches and so many sins, they would never be absolved. Enough, I cried, this is too much. You're wrecking our marriage day. Unmask the bee, that villain and cad. I want to make him pay. So off came the head, his face was revealed. It was my poor old dad. I'm sorry, son, I had to try. This is driving me raving mad. Dad, you fool, this is love I'm in. She has me completely beguiled. Perhaps if Mum saw this passion of yours, I wouldn't be an only child. But as we're in church and confessions are due, I have one of my own. I don't support Preston, Blackburn or Burnley, or even poor old Colne. I support Pompey, I always have. It's where I was born and bred. I've even got a Pompey scarf secreted in your shed. My dad stood up and walked out of church, never once looking back at me. And then my bride spoke with disgust. With your father I must agree. Supporting Burnley I could handle, well as long as I had my pills. But a southerner I can't abide, and our love it completely kills. She turned and left, her veil in hand and throwing down her posy. And everyone left, leaving me alone, a northern fan of Pompey. So the marriage was off, my family split, and in the church I sobbed. When from the cross came a blinding light, and a voice that echoed and throbbed. My son, do not cry, I can make things right. I'm the Lord of broken hearts. Here are 6 words to make things all right. 2 weeks till the season starts.